What's up, everyone? This past week, the Chief Rebel team published their second Campfire checkpoint, and they've given us a lot to think about, especially with a new dynamic loot system on the horizon. And the more I looked into it, the more it started to feel like this might be solving the wrong problem. I've spent some time thinking about their post, and while I'm excited about the direction on some things, I also have some questions about their new gearing philosophy. Today, we're going to unpack this new loot system, discuss its potential implications, and explore whether there might be a simpler solution to the game's endgame grind. The post starts with a Q&A. They address some common community questions, like how they can work on a new system while other content is needed. The answers are what you would expect from a professional studio. They have different teams for different tasks, and development is an iterative process. Later on, they also provided their stance on bugs and cheating, and to me it seems completely reasonable. It's good that they're addressing these points head on, but the really interesting details come when they start breaking down the new system itself. So, what is this new system? The big change is that item rarity, blue, purple, red, etc., will now be a percentage-based chance rather than being tied directly to dungeon difficulty. So even in high-end content, you could see items of varying rarity drop. This introduces a new dynamic to gearing, and for me there are two possible outcomes of this system. On one hand, if the power gap between a full set of max level blue gear and a full set of max level red gear is huge, it could make the grind for true BIS gear much longer. You'd be chasing multiple layers of RNG. On the other hand, if the power difference is small, you have to wonder if the added complexity is worth it for such a minor gain. And that leaves me questioning what problem the system is really solving. I do understand that this is an early access game, and the devs have ideas that they want to test out and see how things look. I'm always hopeful that it turns out great. I also appreciate the mention of bad luck protection, as getting your BIS legendary is a big hurdle towards reaching your max power, and the RNG behind this has been a major pain point for the community. But at the same time, they're also adding even more RNG on top of that, which feels a bit contradictory. And I'm all for seasonal power boosts like set bonuses to keep the game fresh. I love the tier sets in WoW. I just wonder if a full loot system overhaul is necessary to achieve that, or if those ideas could be integrated into the existing framework. The endgame farming loop is the part of the post I've been thinking about the most. The developers mentioned that the current behavior of farming low eternal capstones, like Ransack 1, is a tougher problem to solve than it seems. From my perspective, the solution feels straightforward. Incentivize running harder content by making it grant better rewards. Each eternal bracket could drop higher item levels. After the gear gets to 330, it could increase chances for sockets or even empowered sockets, and along the way each tier could provide more marks, gold, and supplies. The eternal system is already perfect for this. There's a gear cap, but no difficulty cap in eternal. If they are worried that hitting 10k will become too easy with max gear, the goalposts can always be moved. Make the top rewards unlock at 12k or whatever, any arbitrary number. They even hint at this by saying they could increase the chance for rare gear in higher eternal tiers. It feels like the core components of a solution already exist, and it doesn't necessarily require a brand new system. There's another piece of this that I think is just as important as the loot system, and that's the game's patch tempo and how they're handling seasonal engagement. If you look back at Season 1, it lasted about 4 months, but it didn't feel that long, and I think that's because of the events and the way that they were spaced out. Early on, we had the Halloween event. It was small, quick, and easy to complete. More of a light engagement bump than anything major. But then about halfway through the season, we got the Christmas event, and that one was much more substantial. What made that event stand out wasn't just the timing, it was the rewards. There were character-specific unlocks tied to progression, and you actually had to invest time into a character, getting to Eternal, to earn them. And in Season 1, getting to Eternal was a much bigger time investment. That created a real sense of purpose and gave players a reason to keep pushing and playing other characters they might not otherwise. Now compare that to Season 2. So far, we haven't seen any events at all, and if that continues for another full 4-month season, I think that's going to have a noticeable impact on player retention going into Season 3 and beyond. But more importantly, the incentive structure has changed. Right now, the only real new unlock is hitting 10k on one character, and that's it. And I think this is where the difference between Season 1 and Season 2 really shows. In Season 1, a lot of players were naturally trying multiple characters because the game was brand new. You didn't know what you liked yet, so experimenting was the incentive. But now, in Season 2, that novelty is gone. Most returning players already know which characters they enjoy, and even with balance changes, that usually doesn't shift dramatically. So if the game wants players to engage with its alts again, it has to give them a reason. Yes, each character has reward path skins, but those are the same ones from Season 1, and as of now, there's no indication they're going to rotate or refresh each season, and I think that's a missed opportunity. Seasonal, character-specific rewards could be one of the strongest tools they have to drive engagement, If players knew that each season offered unique unlocks per character, you'd naturally see more people experimenting, replaying, and staying active longer. Also, in the game's current state, 10k is too easy and too low to be the highest reward. I'm about 11k on Rhyme right now, and I think if the last unlock was around 12k, it would really feel like something you had to work for and earn instead of just checking a box. Right now, though, that incentive just isn't there. This new system reminds a lot of members of the community of Titan Forging from World of Warcraft. My personal take on Titan Forging was that it felt best when it was an unexpected bonus, not the primary goal. In Mythic Plus, I was always playing with the goal of pushing my score, and a random gear upgrade was just a nice surprise. That worked because there were other, more deterministic ways to get top tier gear. A particular Titan Forged trinket from a specific dungeon might be slightly better than your best max eye level raid trinket, but it was rare enough and it wasn't a big enough gap to be worth grinding for. The concern here is whether this new system makes RNG the main path rather than a bonus on the side. I also noticed two statements that seem to be in contradiction with each other. They say progression will not depend solely on chasing rare rolls, but also that they'll be updating random modifier pools and buffing underused ones. That's standard balancing practice, but there will always be one or two modifiers that become the best, and that creates a new chase for the perfect item with the perfect roll. At that point, getting a high rarity item with the wrong modifier might feel more frustrating than rewarding. This is how it feels right now for legendaries and, to a lesser extent, weapon traits. Looking at the big picture, my main question is whether this new system is the most direct way to address the community's feedback. The primary concerns with the old system seem to be the difficulty and pacing, the early eternal farming, and legendary RNG. This new system adds more layers of RNG without directly changing the farming loop. I'm hopeful, but I'm very interested to see how it actually feels in practice. With all that said, there was a lot in this post that I'm genuinely excited about. New maps and content are things everyone wants to see. Improving the gem system to make it less of a grind is a great quality of life change. And the goal of making the game more alt-friendly as a whole is a big step in the right direction, however they plan on doing that. So, what are my final thoughts? I'm cautiously optimistic, but right now, it feels like the game is adding more complexity without adding more reasons to actually play. I appreciate the transparency from the Chief Rebel team and their willingness to make bold changes, and I don't have perfect visibility into their internal constraints. There might be valid reasons for decisions that seem strange to me from the outside. But from a player perspective, the system does feel a bit like an over-engineered solution, almost like a solution looking for a problem. Still, I'm open to being proved wrong when we see it in action, and I hope it turns out great. What do you all think? Do you see the potential in this new system, or do you share some of these concerns? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to let the rest of this dungeon play out without any further commentary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Witness my wrath!
If this is going to win out, spin you alive!
Dark Lord, shield me! Die raw!
Already! Is this supposed to hurt?
My ward shields me!